All right, guys, we are at the Sony booth at CES 2018, and there's a lot of awesome new stuff. We got some brand new tech, especially with the TV, and a lot of improvements over last year's technology that are pretty exciting as well, especially in the home entertainment sector and other sections as well. So we're going to take a look at all that stuff. We're going to look at the best stuff, some stuff that's just okay, but you can decide for yourself. Let's take a look around and see what's new. All right, so probably the centerpiece of the whole Sony booth, or at least what you first see when you walk in, are all of the OLED TVs. So there's a Bravia TVs, and this is Sony's top of the line. We have the A1E series like we have back here. There's a 4K OLED, and then also new is a different form factor they're calling the A8F. So it's basically the same thing as the A1E, top picture quality. You got the acoustic surface, so the speakers are literally the screen itself. And on these, the stand on the back is basically out of the way completely, and the whole idea of the A1E series is it's all screen, no distractions. So the only difference with the A8F is basically just the form factor. They have the 55-inch, the 65-inch, and people apparently were just asking for something that was a more conventional stand instead of the one that was on the back that was lifted up a bit. So that's really the only difference, but they have the same awesome quality, and the A8F is that new one. All right, now possibly just as exciting as the TVs themselves are the new concept processor they're calling the X1 Ultimate, and this is not in any production TVs yet, although they do have some on display as examples, and we could take a look at those in a second. And the idea is that this is going to have a lot better processing power. They're using the stuff they learned from making the digital imaging sensors from their awesome cameras, and they're putting that into their TVs. The TVs we just looked at were all X1 Extreme, and I'm assuming next year they're going to have the X1 Ultimate, and this thing can do up to 8K HDR processing. All right, so these are the TVs I'm talking about. They have a bunch of different ones on display with the X1 Ultimate. They have the OLED 4K, and they're comparing it with the conventional with the X1 Ultimate. Then they have an LCD version, and then they do have that 8K HDR full spectrum one, and that's probably the main one they have. It's enormous. You can see that here. And it will be really exciting to see what these look like in the future, and I'm assuming we're going to see these at next year's CES 2019, and that will be pretty cool. Here's another really cool area of the booth. It's just a bunch of their different camera equipment they have, everything from all their lenses, their adapters, they got the handy cams, and of course the camera that I have, the FS5, the Big Daddy, the FS7 of the FS5, and interestingly also the RX0, which is their new camera. It's more of like a micro cinema camera, and the example they've been giving is basically you can set up an array of these, kind of like make a matrix style, so you could create a virtual rotation of the object. You could have it show a video, then rotate it, and then show it continuing that video from another position. So it's something that is a little bit more affordable than what they did in the Matrix. And they said you could do it at home, but I think that would be a little bit more expensive than what most people are going to be able to do to buy 20 of these things. But it still is better that, I guess it's becoming more affordable for maybe indie filmmakers or something if they wanted to rent them. So I just thought you'd like to see all the different types of lenses they have at Sony, all the different types of cameras, and it's pretty decked out. Now this is something that is super cool. We kind of looked at these last year and even the year before. This is one of the new short throw projectors. It's 4K, and this thing can go from 85 to 120 inches of screen on a plain white wall. You can see here, there's no special screen or anything, and it can go anywhere from 6 inches from the wall, which will get you that 85, or about 9 inches for the 120. And I think what is most interesting about this, like I said, is you don't need any special screen. You could put this in your living room or whatever potentially, and I don't know if you can see here, but the lighting, it's actually kind of bright in this specific area, and yet you can still see the entire screen pretty decently, so you can imagine what it's going to look like in a few years. What's also really interesting is it's all a self-contained unit. The speakers are literally in the legs, and we kind of looked at a glass speaker previously. I can throw in some B-roll of that, and that technology has been adapted to go into this short throw projector. So the tweeters are those glass cylinders right there, and then they have some additional speakers built in there. And they also said that the only wire going to be coming out of there is probably that power cable, because this will be able to open up and you put all your stuff in there, and then it all connects internally. So the idea is that when it's not on, kind of looks like a piece of furniture. And I don't know, this is pretty exciting, although the price is about $30,000. So I don't know if we'll be able to afford anyone anytime soon, but it's down from $50,000 that we saw in previous years. So it's coming down. I don't know. I think the laser projectors are probably the newest technology that we're going to see from now on in terms of projectors, because you can get so close without distortion even at that kind of distance. You're not going to get that with a traditional lens projector. Next thing we're going to look at is the robotic dog known as AIBO. And if you remember from nearly 20 years ago, Sony released a original version of this, and now they're re-releasing this. And it uses AI, apparently. It's supposed to be like a pet. From what I've been told, the features are most like some kind of toy, so not really any use. It's kind of stupid, to be honest. But it basically will learn family members. It'll get more excited the more it sees people it recognizes. It can play with toys like the ball and that thing. So, I mean, it might be fun. It's like $1,700. So if, I don't know, you have a kid that only likes expensive toys, this might be something decent, but I don't see myself getting one. Let's just put it that way. Now, I briefly mentioned Sony's imaging sensors and how they're using that technology in their TVs, but another interesting development that they announced is they're going to be potentially positioning themselves to be using their sensors in self-driving cars. Now, they're not trying to say that they're going to become a self-driving car company. They're not going to make the self-driving cars themselves or even the algorithms going into it. They want to make the sensors that other manufacturers can put into the cars, because they are pretty much the best sensors in the world, the lowest noise, the best low light, the highest dynamic range. So they have a demo here showing situations where a self-driving car might be able to use these high-performance image sensors where it's literally better than the human eye, such that it can see in extremely low light conditions. We can show you some examples of them using extremely long distance telescopic lenses with their sensors, and they do look in person super sharp, super low noise. Is actually pretty surprising. I don't know if I can capture it on camera. And then they also had a demo for a high dynamic range where, like I said, it's the tunnel situation where you can't really see into the tunnel because the stuff behind it is very bright, but the imaging sensor can. So this is actually a pretty big part of their booth, and they have multiple demos of it. So it seems like something they are really pushing to do, and it'll be interesting to see how this develops in the future, because we know that self-driving cars are going to be a thing probably sooner than we think. And I think Sony is trying to become a big part of that, at least in the imaging sensor category. So that is the Sony booth, or at least the most interesting things. If we took a look at everything, it wouldn't be very exciting, but hopefully you guys did think it was pretty interesting. So if you guys do want to see anything, if I see it in time, you can leave a comment and I'll try to check it out. So I'll see you guys next time. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.